Westworld Season 3 is reaching its end, and the one character that has remained on my mind since his reappearance in episode 4 is the Man in Black. I've been very interested in where he could be going, and also fascinated by how the showrunners will connect the dots to his Fidelity program cutscene in Season 2. In this video, I'm going to be addressing a theory I have in regards to the character and giving reasons why I think the Man in Black will become a part of humanity's endgame going forward. Even if he's not going to be in Season 3 as much as I wanted him to, I do think that this season is going to set up the character as an important player in the future of the show. As a pre-warning, I will be addressing spoilers and narrative points from Season 1 to 3 of Westworld, so I'd recommend catching up first before watching this theory breakdown. Also, if you want to see any of my upcoming episode reviews for Westworld Season 3, along with other breakdowns and theory videos coming this season, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoy this video, remember to give it a like rating. Without further ado, let's get into my Man in Black theory for the end of Westworld Season 3. So, the Man in Black as a character is someone that has very quickly lost everything, but also in ways that none of us would have expected. After becoming addicted with the games and the hosts of Westworld and wanting it to become a reality, his wish has now come true, but in all the worst ways possible. Obviously, at the end of Season 2, William ended up killing his own daughter, along with viewers finding out that he was the sole reason behind his wife's death. This was all at the centre of his own growing questions around reality itself, which led William to thinking that his daughter was a host, and eventually cutting a piece of himself to find out if he was. But all of this was thrown into chaos as we witness the post-credit scene for Season 2. As we currently know, this is a far dystopian future in which William is being tested for fidelity, and obviously we got a lot of that program in episode 4 of Season 2 with James Delos. Moving on to Season 3, we've only had one episode with William's character, but he's currently at a place which is even worse from where we left off in last season. Now he's questioning his own reality even more, and even seeing hallucinations of his deceased daughter Emily and a previous version of Dolores. He's now in an institution dealing with his own mental thoughts while Dolores spawns chaos in the outside world, including the takeover of his own company. However, leading into episode 6, it looks like we are going to be getting a lot more of William's character. In the trailer, we see what looks to be a glimpse of him beating a guard at the institution and eventually escaping. The reason we know this is because in the trailer before the season aired, the Man in Black is sat back in his mansion with a bloody shirt, saying to someone that he's going to save the world. I personally predict that the person he's talking to in this scene is his vision of Emily. Obviously, we know that at this current point the Man in Black cannot really challenge Dolores, but ever since Season 2 a certain theory has grown on me. Now, before I discuss my idea, the two that are most popular amongst fans of the show in regards to the Season 2 post-credit scene include that of William being tortured by the hosts which have already took over the real world, and the other revolves around his character being brought back by the hosts for a particular reason that we currently do not know of. Now, just to stress, I do think that both of these ideas have weight to them and a chance of being correct, but the one that I predict is slightly different from this. My personal theory is that what we are seeing is either Seracs doing or a character that eventually aligns as an opposing force to Dolores. This could also potentially be Bernard or Maeve after the events of Season 3. After all, Bernard has seen this program with James Delos, and maybe after he witnesses Dolores take over aggressively, or at least have an advantage in an upcoming conflict, he may have an idea of the person to bring back. Either way, I think this is on Serac's side of the fight, and with the Man in Black potentially saying in a upcoming episode that he wants to save the world, I think this could be the direction they head in. In Season 1, he played the villain in a Western theme park, and as we see the themes of reflection play out this season, I wouldn't be surprised if we got the Man in Black be a true opposition to Dolores as we move forward. Now, the question many have towards William successfully working as part of the Fidelity program is one that I also have. But one point I would say to keep in mind with this development is that William has possibly spent the most time of anyone in Westworld. And why would this be significant? Well, with Serac trying to obtain the guest profiles, and with William having possibly the most brain scanning of any human guest that has stepped foot in the park during the last few decades, then maybe that makes him the perfect candidate to lead a host-human hybrid resurgence against Dolores. If we also look at what Jonathan Nolan said in a featurette, along with what we are seeing with Charlotte Hale in Season 3, this starts to make a lot more sense. Nolan posed a question to the viewer at the end of the Episode 3 featurette, asking what happens when man and machine meet in the middle. This has stayed on my mind through a majority of this season, especially with the development of Hale's character. Now, an episode later, we got the reveal that Hale was Dolores, but the interesting part of this character is that the human code of Charlotte Hale seems to be fighting back against the copy of Dolores occupying her body. Now, if we reverse this idea, we are looking at human consciousness being put into a host body, and this very much links to James Delos and eventually the Man in Black. The question is, are we witnessing the future of the show? I personally think we are, and I believe that these different angles to the host-human hybrid concepts are the key to where we could be going in the story. Ultimately, the Man in Black wanted the hosts to fight back, but once he lost everything, he realised that this was all a big mistake in regards to his own species and as well as his own actions. With him also referencing that he wants to save the world in an upcoming episode, does that align him with Serac? Now, he doesn't like those being trapped in a system along with his want for free will, but if this Fidelity program works, could it possibly be the answer? Although I do believe that the series will show us that humans ultimately will do anything to survive, as Ford suggested with resurrection and immortality, the Man in Black is the physical embodiment of everything fragmented about them. As a hybrid, he would obviously have a greater physical push if it came to a war with Dolores. He'd have a fighting chance against her side of the conflict, and it would possibly make him feel like he had a future purpose. And that purpose, I believe, is to save humanity. The fact that his species could continue in a new form if he possibly succeeds using this method, then they may have a future. A future that doesn't just involve William being a fragile human, but being one which is also a host. And the hosts and Westworld were his main addiction in the first place. But don't get me wrong, I don't think he'll necessarily align with Serac forever, especially based on their core motives towards free will. But I do think to start off with, they may join as an opposing force. This could all lead into the Man in Black, Bernard, Maeve and Serac as the power opposite to Dolores and the other characters. And although these characters all have conflicting viewpoints with one another, there's at least some common ground between them, and we are seeing that over this season. What I think we could be leading into is the real world becoming a spitting image of Westworld, a fight that isn't a fantasy or a quest for purpose, but one that includes Dolores and the Man in Black in a battle of reality. Westworld is already a reflection of the real world in particular themes and mainly control, so what if we are seeing the setup for a reality of Westworld events in the real world? This show is one of my favourite shows today because it purposely shows us the reality of loops with not just the characters but also the storylines, and although the main characters have broken these loops, the world around them is still very much a place which hasn't. The story of violence and chaos has remained throughout history, and until the very end of the show we won't know what kind of world is left. And I think with the Man in Black as a real opposition to Dolores, it portrays something that would reflect the end of their beginning. I do think eventually though that William will change from this, or maybe die as someone who does admit to his sins, but based on what we are seeing in all the previews and this season, I don't think that that time has come just yet. But that was my theory for the Man in Black in regards to where his character could be going. I think with everything we are seeing, along with hints from the showrunners, we could be in for a very interesting narrative path with his character. I personally want to see him gain a purpose going forward. Now obviously, as a character that has literally lost everything, I would love for William to eventually gain his reason as we reach the end of the entire show, becoming something that falls in line with how he started off. With all the loops and meaningful conclusions to storylines in Westworld, I think the Man in Black will be no different. But let me know down below what you thought of my theory and tell me what your predictions are for the Man in Black going forward. What do you speculate the Fidelity program is being used for in regards to his character? And do you think he'll become a part of Serac or another character's plan to fight back against Dolores? I'm very intrigued to hear your perspectives. Again, for reviews and recaps of all the remaining episodes of Westworld Season 3, along with theories and breakdown videos surrounding this season, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like rating. I will be covering episode 6 along with a breakdown of the trailer for episode 7 next week. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.